Moving back to the code, let's start by creating our blueprint, a new class called car in code. So we're going to go to the source code folder again. We're going to go new Java class because we want to create this Java car class, this car blueprint that we mapped out in the previous video. And we're going to go car as its name. It's going to be a class. Now we have this car class. In our sketches from the last video, we said a car has an average miles per gallon, a license plate number, and a paint color. Starting with the average MPG, we'll create a variable called average miles per gallon and give it the data type int. So we'll go int average miles per gallon. Now I'm writing this in camel case, and camel case just means that every word except the first is capitalized, and this is a common convention in Java when writing variable names. In Java, when we create variables, we have the data type followed by the variable name. And so here our data type is int, and int stands for integer, meaning whole number, and it's one data type we'll use a lot in our programs. Let's keep track of the data types we've talked about up here in comments. And so we're just going to have data types. And the first one that we've talked about is int. Now, if we thought that average miles per gallon might not be a whole number, then we would make this a double, which would allow it to have a decimal component. Some examples of decimal values are 34.5 or 32.1. These have a decimal component along with their value. Moving on to the license plate number, we know that all license plates have numbers as well as digits, and they're more than one character. This means we can't use a double and we can't use an int to represent this piece of data. Instead, we have to use a string. So we'll write string as the data type, and then the variable name is going to be license plate. A string is surrounded by quote marks with characters inside them. Some other examples, we'll write up here as another data type. Some other examples might be A1, A2, or hello world, which we did in the last chapter of this course. Now, our car has an average MPG and a license plate identifier, but let's add the paint color. Now, we could use a string for this paint color, but Java actually has a type already built in that represents color. So we'll write color, paint color. Now, we might get an error here because the program doesn't recognize color at first as a data type, so we have to import a Java library. And so up here, we're going to import the abstract window toolkit library. And to do that, we write import java.awt.star. And this just imports everything from the AWT, the abstract window toolkit library. And once that's imported, our error goes away. Let's go ahead and add this data type to our list. And so we'll write color, and this is from the AWT library or the abstract window toolkit library. Now, what if we had one more variable that kept track if the taillights were working? This could be represented by a number, 0 for off, 1 for on, but we can also use a data type called Boolean, which is true or false. So if we wanted to use the Boolean, or the true or false value, we could do Boolean as the data type, and we can go are taillights working as our variable name. And so here, our taillights working will be true if the taillights are working, or false if the taillights are not working. Let's add this to our variable list. Now, you've probably noticed that we aren't giving values to these variables right now. That's because this is a blueprint on how to create a car. No cars have actually been created yet. To create cars, we'll need something called a constructor, which we'll talk about in the next video.